Hey everybody, my name is Baylor Manier, and today I'm going to be talking about the shoulder complex. More specifically, I'm going to be talking about the injuries of the shoulder. I'm going to be talking about a rotator cuff tear, which is a very nasty injury that can lead to many other issues. First off, what is the shoulder complex? Well, the shoulder complex, as you can see the picture to the right, the shoulder complex is a group of muscles and tendons that connect the bone of the upper arm, which is known as the humerus, with the shoulder blade, or the scapula. The different muscles of the rotator cuff is going to include these four muscles right here. And those are the infraspinatus, the supraspinatus, the subscapularis, and the teres minor. All of these muscles have the same origin and insertion, originating on the scapula and actually ending on the distal part of the humerus, or the proximal part, excuse me. And the mechanisms for these muscles include posterior and anterior rotation, abducting and adducting the arm. It also aids and helps prevent dislocation of that shoulder joint as well. And next, that's going to bring up the most popular causes of the rotator cuff tear. The first one on the list is going to be lifting heavy weights. Lifting heavy weights can cause you to create acute tears in the tendons or connecting tendons and or ligaments in your joints, or even in the muscles themselves. Lifting heavy weight that you're uncomfortable with or that your body can't control because you're not strong enough quite yet, that can cause a multitude of injuries. And it's really not great on your joints or your muscles to strain them that much. So it's best to just drop the weight down just a little bit to something that you're able to control a lot better, and you're still getting the proper work in that you're wanting. The next injury, or most likely cause of the injury, is going to be falling on the arm or the shoulder. Falls or abnormal movements of the arm can cause acute tears to form in the tendons and or muscles. And actually, the most common cause for this specific reason is going to be falling on an outstretched arm. What that causes is when you actually fall and you go to catch yourself, like by extending your arm, it's going to cause you to jar your shoulder, and it can cause tendons to rip and tear that way. It can also even cause a dislocation in the shoulder, which is also not a fun injury to deal with. And last but not least, we have degenerative wear and tear. This is going to be more along the lines of your athletes. More specifically, baseball players, football players, even some track and field athletes that have a lot of over-the-head movements with their arms will be in this category. Degenerative wear and tear, it's a chronic issue, can develop in the player's shoulder and cause acute tears as well. Activities that involve quick jerking motions and overuse of the shoulder complex can help create these issues. So, throwing a baseball, throwing a softball, javelin throw, all of these things can lead to degenerative wear and tear and can cause acute tears within your shoulder. These are going to be more long-term, while as the other ones are going to happen quicker, a single instant, spontaneously. Okay, so now we're going to go over how to prevent this injury. Right here, the 4 best bullet points for preventing injuries in the shoulder. You're going to want to implement a good warm-up stretch before participating in physical activity. The tightness in muscles paired with the jerking motion is what causes most of these injuries. So if you are able to loosen up your muscles, loosen up your tendons, be nice and relaxed while you're performing, you're going to decrease the chance of injury tremendously. The next one is going to be avoid repeated overhead arm positions that may cause shoulder pain. If you are a baseball player, if you are a softball player, I'm using this as an example, and you're throwing and you're having pain while you're throwing, or maybe it's just at a certain distance, try and bring it down a little bit, take it a little bit easier, or even take some time off if you're able to. I know that during the season it's a little harder to, but if you are able to take some time off, give your arm time to heal, and then you can get back into it with gradual progression. Next thing is you're going to want to practice good posture. This is probably one of the number one things, because it goes so overlooked. A lot of times we go throughout our day, we're sitting at our desk doing schoolwork, or even sitting at our job doing our work for their job, and we don't realize it, but we end up coming into a hunched over position, and what that does is it anteriorly rotates our shoulders. What I mean by anteriorly, it causes our shoulders to lean forward. Our natural body position is to have our scapula or scaps nice and tight and our shoulders pulled back. That is the natural stance and position of the shoulders. And what this can cause, it can cause you to pinch your nerves and stuff like that. So it's best to just practice the good posture. It'll have you have a strong core, and it'll just help prevent this overall. And last but not least, you want to avoid sleeping on your side with your arms stretched over your head or lying on the shoulder. Again, this goes back to those awkward angles, awkward movements that can cause acute. And now we're going to go over some of the symptoms if you do believe that you have a rotator cuff tear in either arm. You may be experiencing pain with overhead movements past 90 degrees or lifting the arm above the shoulder. You might possibly experience pain at rest or at night when you're sleeping. You may have weakness when lifting or rotating your arm. You're going to have crepitus or crackling sensation when you're moving the shoulder. If you were to do arm circles and you feel like crackling, almost like it's rolling over something, this is going to be a symptom of a rotator cuff tear. As well as dull ache in the shoulder and muscle atrophy if all the other symptoms are ignored for too long. So the diagnosis of the patient, what we're going to do is we're going to ask what has happened to cause this pain. Where were you? What were you doing? What did you feel when the injury occurred? What's your pain level? We're going to ask all these questions so we can get a better understanding of what might be going on. Another thing is, where is the pain located? Is it anterior? Is it posterior? Front side? Left? Back side? Is it on the outside of the shoulder? Is it deep? Is it more towards the skin? These are questions we also want to know so we can pinpoint what is the issue. This is all going under observation as well. When the patient is actually in our clinic, that is something that we want to look at. These are the things that we want to look at, as well as looking at any deformities that we may see. We're going to go into palpation next, which is, feeling for tenderness, abnormal swelling, muscle spasms. We're going to feel around the affected area. If they are muscle guarding, they are more likely to have an injury in that location because, it doesn't feel good to have it being messed with. So it would make sense. Next, the special test for a rotator cuff tear, which I'm actually going to go ahead and go to the next slide because it goes into more detail. And what you see here is on the left side, you'll see the lateral Job test, which tests the supraspinatus. And to do this test, all you need to do is have your patient abduct their arm to about 90 degrees, and then you're going to apply resistance, and they have to not let you push their arm down, essentially. And you're going to go down as far as you can, and if they are experiencing pain, they are probably more than likely positive for this test. The next one that you'll see in the middle is going to be the drop arm test. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to lift the arm above your head like you were to raise your hand in class, and then you're going to let go of the patient's arm and you're going to allow them to drop it. But what you want them to do is try to keep it held up as long as possible. And once they get to 90 degrees, it can be painful, and if it is painful for them, they are going to be testing positive for this test. And the last but not least is the lift-off test. This is going to test the subscapularis. And all you need to do is have the patient put their arm behind their back like they're about to scratch an itch back there. And then you're going to have them raise the hand off the back away from them. If they have pain in the shoulder or they end up rotating the shoulder forward to perform this movement, the chances are they are positive for this test as well. Okay, now we are going to get into an example of what the physical therapy rehab would be like. So the patient that I have been given is Greg. His name is Greg. He is a 30-year-old male and is now going to be going through a rehab that I have designed for him post-surgery. Greg has completely torn his rotator cuff. It is a grade 3 injury. With grade 3 injuries, there is no exception. You will be going through surgery, and then post-surgery, you will be sent to a physical therapist of some sort, and you will be going through rehab, and that's what we're about to discuss. Alright, so now we're going to go over the rehab protocol. The rehab will be a 5-phase, 26-week plus program. During phase 1, we will be 0 to 6 weeks post-surgery. Our goals are to protect the arm, ensure proper healing, and prevent stiffness of the arm, as well as regain range of motion. During the first couple weeks, it's going to be passive range of motion. You're not going to do a whole lot of activation of those shoulder muscles. Phase 2 is going to be 6 to 12 weeks after the surgery. We're going to protect the repair, improve range of motion, and then now we're going to start gentle strengthening. We're going to be performing ball exercises or squeezing the ball exercises, scapular shrugs, shoulder raises, different things like that. Phase 3, 12 to 18 weeks post-surgery, we are going to still be focusing on protecting the repair as well as increasing range of motion. We're going to try to get back to full range of motion, and we're going to continue gentle strengthening. A lot of this range of motion is still going to be passive range of motion because we don't want to re-tear those tendons that were injured. Now we're going to be moving into phase 4. It's going to be 18 to 26 weeks after the surgery. Now is where we start getting into a little bit more of your normal activity. We're going to be, of course, still protecting the repair. You're going to avoid excessive forceful use of the arm. For example, no heavy lifting. You don't want to be doing that because you don't want to re-tear the repair. We're going to restore shoulder range of motion completely, as well as restore shoulder strength and gradual return to normal activity. Now phase 5, this is going to be the last phase. It's 26 weeks and out. Our goal is to continue to protect the repair. You don't want to go back and injure it again and have to start the entire process over again. That's not what we want. You're also going to further return to normal activity, and at this point you are able to return to your sport-specific exercises. Some different things that will be done for that are some sport-specific tests that will let us know whether you're ready to go back and compete or not. So for example, for baseball, one specific test would be being able to throw a baseball 120 feet, because that's about the average throw that a baseball player makes on a baseball field. And that's really it for this presentation. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.